Alright, for this colored pencil practice, you need a pen or a pencil to write with, a warm dark color like this dark red, or you could use, a nice dark brown, that would be fine. Light cool color, so I have this minty green. You could alternatively use a very light blue would be fine, or like a lavender color, something like this would be okay too. You need a white colored pencil and a colorless blender. Your colorless blender is going to look like the just natural wood instead of a colored pencil color, so you might be mistaking it for like a peach, but it should say colorless on it, and when you look at the end it's just this kind of white waxy color. So this is a colored pencil that doesn't have any pigment in it, it's just the waxy part of the colored pencil. So first we need to talk about colored pencil and how it works and how it erases. So let's start with our dark colored pencil and go ahead and write your name with regular pressure. Okay, now regular writing with colored pencil, when you take your eraser and try to erase it, it doesn't go anywhere. So colored pencil is permanent and it can't be erased. Now if you write lightly, and go ahead and do that and try to erase it, it still won't go, but you're able to lighten it up. When we're using our colored pencil, we're going to do a lot with varied pressure. So making sure that you're using the pressure that you want. A lighter pressure with a lot of layering will actually help your colored pencil to work how it's been designed to work. Alright, so like I mentioned, we're using varying pressure with our colored pencils. So let's go ahead and make that note. It's important to think about how hard you're pushing with a colored pencil, because if you push too hard, you will do what is called burnishing. And once you burnish, you can't layer colors on top of other colors. So let's do a little bit of practice with our pressure. So we're going to do a light pressure in this first part, medium for the second, and then heavy for the third. So still using this darker, warm colored pencil, pushing as lightly as you can while still seeing the color. Go ahead and make a small rectangle under where you wrote the word light. Try to make it even and filled in so that you can't see the direction of your stroke lines. So it just looks all solid. Next, for the medium, do the same thing. Start with a light and then push a little bit harder, but not all the way. You'll notice that when you push a little bit harder, you get a darker tone. And then for the last one, we'll go through the same steps. So you start with the light one, and then you push a little bit harder, and then you push really hard without breaking the colored pencil. Again, going in different directions so that you can't see the stroke direction. And the more layers you add, the less white of the paper will be visible. Okay, so this is called burnishing. That's B-U-R-N-I-S-H-I-N-G. And it's pushing as hard as you can. So it's really good if you want something to be one solid color in one area without other tones or highlights, and you're really sure that that's the color you want it to be. As you notice, the paper will look different. It'll be shiny and really, really dark. So next, we're going to talk about layering. which is the process of building up layers for a more interesting use of color. So sure, you can use just whatever color that you get out of the set, but in a lot of cases we need to use a variety of different colors in order to achieve the look that you're trying to go for and to make things look more dimensional and deep. So when I was doing this practice face, I had started with a skin tone, but I've also used, a peachy skin tone, and then I've also used red and purple and blue so that it would get the dimensionality. If I only used peaches, it wouldn't be as deep. So let's go ahead and start with our light cool color, and we're going to go right here and just using light pressure to start with, we're going to color in a little bar, maybe about an inch long. And then I'm going to go over it this way, make sure that I'm filling in all of the strokes so that you can't see any of the stroke direction, or at least not much. I'm going to use lighter pressure in this middle section because I will blend it into the other color. So get your dark warm color and lay it over your light cool color, and then start to drag it out. Right, just like that. So you can see in the middle we've created this neutrally tone, and even that helps things to look a little bit more interesting. And now we're going to layer with our other two tools. So let's draw a little line in the middle right here, and we'll write white up here, and we're going to write colorless blender down here. All right, after you have those set up, go ahead and take your white colored pencil and use it to smooth over the top. While you're doing this, notice how it changes the two colors. One, it's kind of dragging the red into the green and getting part of the green a little bit dirty, so that would be something to keep in mind. But mostly it lightens it up while also blending it together. Now with the colorless blender, you're going to notice that it does blend as well, but the color gets a little darker, but mostly just stays true to the color that it was. Now, instead of just letting it get red over there, I'm gonna wipe it off, or you can sharpen it, and that will keep it from dragging the color over. So you just have to pay attention to what color you were using and look at your colorless blender to keep it from getting real dirty. And the same would work for the white. I just forgot. All right, so that's layering. Another technique that we can use with our colored pencil is stipple. Y'all already know about stipple and its dots. So close dots equals dark value. So let's make a little chart, maybe even a little smaller than the chart that I made, probably right to about here will be good. And we're going to try to make light, medium, and dark. So for the light, we'll start with the green, and you're just making dots. And they'll be spread out throughout here. Now, let's see if I can get a little bit closer. The medium, we're going to continue in here with the light, right, because we're always starting with the light, and then progressively getting darker. switch over to the red because that's what will help it to get that medium tone. And we're getting the closer dots, not larger dots. And let's put a couple of these in through the light too. And then do the dark. I'm going to pause for a second and do this. So work for a little while until you get a light, medium, and a dark shade through stippling with your colored pencils. So something like this. Stippling can be a really cool technique to make different textures. Different parts of your picture would benefit from using your colored pencils in different ways so that it will look how you want it to look, so everything doesn't look like it's made out of the same stuff. Another technique that we can use is another one that you've learned about before, which is hatching. Okay, and it's a single direction mark. So if you make them closer together, you'll get a darker value. Alright, so let's go ahead and go with our dark colored pencil. And we're going to start just going in one direction. And then spreading them out as you go over. Now, we really didn't get too much of a value progression here, so let's go over it again. And maybe even one more time. Going in the same direction. All throughout to try to get it to go from dark to light. Our next technique that we're going to talk about is cross-hatching, another technique we've talked about before. And these are multi-directional marks. Okay, tighter. Crisscross equals darker value. So if we go here and we do a light open crisscross, it will make a very light value. But if we put our lines closer together and then use more overlapping, we will get a darker value. Now, another thing with crosshatch is you don't have to do it with just straight lines. You can also do it with curved lines, and curved lines will help things look more dimensional. And so if we start out by drawing a little tiny sphere over here, and we do our little curved lines around, and curved lines this way, and then flat lines coming out here, but then still doing a flatter sort of a crosshatch, we'll be able to make it look more dimensional. If you take your second color and add it on top, you can get more of a range of value. Throughout here. As with all of our techniques, we don't typically just use one at a time. We will pile them up and use a variety of techniques at one time. But look how the curved lines will make this appear to be three-dimensional. And last, we have our mixed practice. And with mixed practice, we'll talk about hair or grass, which is made with flicks, so it's like a long stipple. Whichever way you want the hair to be growing from is where you put your pencil down first. So if this is grass, we would want it to grow this direction so that it goes up and the thinness of the line points up. If it's, that's a pen, silly Miss Dorsey. If it's hair, you would have the thick part of the line wherever it is in the person's head, and then the thin part of the line would be coming out and being the end of the hair. Right, so we have that and we'd use them together. So grass, long stipple. Hair, fur, maybe carpet. Ooh, that didn't work. That's an E. Okay. Another technique that we've used before that could get you bushes or curly hair or just a texture like a pattern on a skirt or a shirt, something like that, is this scumble technique, which is just a scribble where you let it be very loose where you want it to be light, and you put it closer together where you'd like it to be dark. So let's try this with our two different colors. Getting a nice tight scumble at the bottom. Would also work for curly hair. And carpet. But a lot of different things. So the idea with your colored pencil is not that you use these things individually, but that you understand that instead of just coloring back and forth like you did when you started using colored pencils and just kind of filling in the space, we're not doing that anymore. We're using our different techniques to create the textures that you're looking for in your specific piece.